Hello, everyone. This is Holly Chantal, the founder of the Land of Brand, and you have joined the LOBoratory, which is the Land of Brand laboratory, where we talk about different experiments in your brand and how to create a totally unique coaching brand that is an expression of who you are and allows you to do what you love every single day. Today, as you can see, I am joining you from a non-traditional location. I am at my parents' house, and I'm actually in the attic, which is the only place that's quiet around here. So one of the reasons people start their businesses is so that they can really work from anywhere. And usually they're referring to exotic locales like going to Thailand for months at a time, which I would love to do, or, being able to travel with your family. And really, sometimes it's overlooked, just having the ability to be able to work while you're visiting family, or while you are, just doing normal day-to-day things, and allowing your business to continue to thrive while doing that. So today we're going to be talking about how to package and price your programs, which is a huge piece of being able to travel and being able to work from anywhere and be able to live or create a business where you can live the life of your dreams. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm just going to head on over to sharing the presentation. As you can see, I'm a little bit sick today, so I apologize for any sniffling. And I'm also working, usually I have two monitors, so doing this is a little bit smoother, but we will work with it. All right, so you guys should be able to see my presentation. It's not going to be full screen like it normally is. So here's the game plan for today's topic. First, we're going to talk about, are you charging too much? Because that is a very common question we get. They're also going to talk about the 3 limiting thoughts that are keeping your prices low and that are costing you money every single day. And then I'm going to introduce you to the value model and how that affects your pricing. So it's a different way to price your packages. And then a simple 5-step system for pricing any of your offerings. And this will help guide you as you begin to package your offerings and know how to set the pricing for them. And then, of course, because we always talk about branding, we're going to talk about how your pricing affects your brand and why that needs to be a huge consideration when you are setting the prices for your programs. So, are you charging too much? The quick answer is no. There is no such thing as charging too much. Your pricing or being able to charge higher prices is affected by your brand and by the positioning and by the needs of the market. So if you want to charge a certain amount for your services, it may not be right for the particular market you're in, and you're going to need to focus on targeting a different audience. Or maybe you need to work on the positioning of that offering and the language and the copy if you're not able to sell it. Or maybe it also has to do with the overall brand perception and the value the value that your brand is putting out there as the perception of the work you do. So the quick answer is no. But as you can see, there's a lot of different factors that go into how you're pricing your services. So you may be charging too much based on your current level of branding and the current positioning of that product. But typically that's not the case. In fact, most of the time, what I see is coaches underpricing their services and undervaluing what it is they're selling. So the typical pricing strategy, most coaches have had a job before, the typical 9-to-5 corporate job. I'm lucky enough that I've never had, other than working summers in college, I've never had the traditional 9-to-5 job. However, even saying that, I still came into this business with the traditional 9-to-5 mindset because that's the standard of society, working 40 hours a week, working for an hourly rate. And so when we start to price our services as coaches and as teachers and experts, we start with an hourly rate. And then when you start seeing how much you need to be charging to make money, you start to think, well, how can I charge $200, $300 an hour for my time? Because the job you're coming from, chances are that is not what you were charging. And that is just such a huge leap mindset wise that it seems impossible, or it seems impractical, and out of integrity with what you think you're worth. And we're going to talk about that in a moment. The other strategy is the comparison conundrum. So looking at other people in your industry and saying, okay, what are they charging and where do I measure up? And unfortunately, the way most people are looking about how they measure up is their level of experience, or how long they've been in business, or trying to price themselves below the market, below the traditional market, because they want to be seen as affordable, or they think that it'll sell faster. And that's just not a good way to price yourself, because the value of your services should not be based on what other people are doing. The pricing needs to be based on the value that your clients are receiving through working with you. We're going to talk more about that in a moment. The other thing is that lowering your prices is not necessarily going to help you sell more quicker. It can cheapen your brand, and it can actually make people not want to hire you, because they think that if that's what you're charging, then you must not be worth it. And then the third way of pricing that's typical is the throw quote unquote stuff at the wall and hope it sticks approach. So that's like just, throwing out different pricing, changing it a lot, seeing what works. And that's the way a lot of marketing is approached. And traditionally it doesn't work. I know you've probably heard that in a lot of different contexts, the just kind of see if it sticks approach. And pricing is no different. It's not the best approach. It's not efficient, and it's going to end up making you look like kind of a flake because your pricing keeps changing. So what should you be looking at when you are pricing your services? Well, one thing that we don't really think about is the billable versus non-billable time. When we're thinking about pricing our services, we're thinking about, okay, charging, your hourly rate that you would be charging would be based on when you're actually on the phone with a client. So the question is, how are you getting paid for all the time that you're not actually on the phone working with clients? What about the time that you're checking emails? What about the time that you're doing your marketing? What about the time that you're working on something for a client? So that's why your hourly rate is not the best way to be looking at the pricing for your services. So let's do just an example calculation. Most coaches want to make $100,000 a year. That's kind of like the the holy grail of the coaching industry. I want to be a six-figure coach. And in order to do that, let's say you're going to have a traditional 40-hour week, which is definitely not typical either. You see people working 80 hours, or you see people working 15 to 20 hours, depending on where they are in their business. So we're going to use 40 hours a week just because we're looking at a traditional 9-to-5 business. And we'll say 50 weeks a year because, let's say you get 2 weeks vacation per year, though hopefully you're going to be getting a lot more than that, which is part of building a coaching business, to give you the freedom to not have to work the traditional 50 weeks a year. So if you were to do that, then your hourly rate would be $50 an hour. But here's the thing. How many of those hours are you actually working with clients? In order to make $50 an hour work, you'd have to be working with clients 40 hours a week. So that means you'd have to have 40 clients at a time, which is ridiculous. Plus, how are you getting paid for the rest of your time? So what I like to do is instead of looking at it as a per hour paying for a particular time frame, I look at it as a per value. So money per value. Because and here are the three limiting thoughts that come up that really keep people playing small. And I want to kind of help you shift these thoughts and start looking at the value of what you provide versus what you feel your time is worth. Because we always, undervalue our time, because as coaches, we have big hearts. We want to help people. And so we would give our time away if we felt like it was really going to make an impact on the world. And that's just the nature of the coaching industry. And I think that's a beautiful thing. However, you also need to be able to support yourself. So we need to start looking at not just making it personal about your time, but instead making it personal about the person and the impact that their work with you is going to have on their lives. So the first limiting thought is that your time isn't valuable because you have a lot of it. And time is not one of those things where it's valued on, the limiting returns where the more time you have, the economical scale, the more time you have, the less it's worth, and the less time you have, the more it's worth. That's not how this works. The reality is that the value you're providing to your client is the same whether or not you're busy. So whether you have 40 hours a week to work because you don't have any clients and you just quit your job, or if you are, have a full-time job and you're starting your business, or let's say you're established and you're booked solid already, the value of your time doesn't really change. So instead of looking at it as the value of your own time and how much you have, start looking at what is the value of working with you. The second limiting thought is that this stuff is so easy, I don't deserve to be paid a lot for it. This was something that came up for me over and over again when I first started my business, because to me, marketing strategy, website development is intuitive. I taught myself how to build WordPress websites. It's something that I just innately understand. It's like one of my gifts is being able to put together a strategy and to implement the pieces. And it's like, to me, it's fun. It's putting together a puzzle. And building websites was the same thing. It was putting together a puzzle, figuring out how to code different pieces. And even as I'm talking, I'm getting like all excited because this is what I love doing. And because I loved doing it so much and it was so easy and intuitive for me, I didn't think I should be charging a lot for it because, I'm not working really hard. I'm enjoying what I'm doing. So why should someone be paying me for it? Because they're, it's not an inconvenience or anything. So, I'd do it for free if I could. And this is something I hear from a lot of different coaches, because it's so easy and intuitive to you does not mean that it's easy and intuitive for your clients. Otherwise, they wouldn't need to hire you. And the impact that what you're really good at has on their life is going to have a huge value. And if you're not really sure what it is you're really good at and where your genius is, then this is just kind of a side note, but you guys have probably seen some emails that 2 o'clock today I'm doing a webinar with Nancy Marmolejo, and that's what she's going to be talking about. So if you want information about that, shoot me an email. I'll make sure you get the registration link because it's a free webinar. And that's what we're going to be talking about is what is easy for you? What comes naturally to you that you could be providing to your audience? And where is your genius? What should you be being paid a lot for? Because it's not something that every day-to-day person can do. And it might be something really simple. Oftentimes the way you think or the way you look at the world is not traditional to the way other people do. And because it's easier for you and it's a passion just means that if you're getting paid a lot for it, then you're going to have a wonderful business for yourself. And the value that you're going to be providing and the impact you're going to have on people's lives is going to be tremendous, because it's not like that for everyone. Limiting thought number 3 is that there are others that are way more experienced. So who am I to say I'm worth that much? And you know what? You're right. I'm just kidding. The value you provide is phenomenal for your clients. And we need to stop making it about us. I am worth this much, because, as a society, we're told not to brag or not to, hold ourselves on a pedestal. You have to be humble, and that's okay. It's okay to be humble. However, you also need to take a really real look at the value that you're providing for your clients and see what a huge impact you have. And take pride in that, because it's a beautiful thing to watch someone do something that they're a total genius at. People enjoy watching that. Why do you think we watch dancers on stage? Why do you think we pay to see a ballet or to watch sports? What we're doing is we're watching people that are amazing at what they do. And what you're doing in your business is no different. People will be wowed by how amazing you are. and they'll pay you to witness that, or to have your amazingness, affect them in their business or them in their life. And you're creating a big change in the world, and that's huge. So instead of looking at it as, how you value your own self-worth and that you're bragging or anything like that, instead look at the beauty of what you're bringing to the world and the value that you're bringing to your clients, and start looking at your pricing from that perspective. So this is what I've been talking about is the value model. And basically what we're doing is we're packaging and pricing our services based on the result that we're providing, not the time it's going to take us to get to that result. So a website is a result. So we have different website packages that are for people that are different stages in their business based on the end result. If someone is just starting out their business, we're not going to charge them an arm and a leg to put a website together. We're going to put something together that's simple, that's going to serve them, that they can be proud to send people to, but that doesn't necessarily have, a lot of the bells and whistles that they're not even going to be able to use. So we're not going to give someone that's starting out, a Ferrari that they're not even sure how to drive. Instead, we're going to give them, the tool that they can use at where they're at. And the pricing is based on that. It's based on the capabilities that website's going to have. So they're not paying for, extra bells and whistles that, are just going to inflate the price. And your packages are going to be the same way. It's going to be geared toward a particular audience and the result they're going to get from that service that you're providing. What this does is it allows you flexibility with your pricing. So this allows you to not just have set prices that people either can afford or they can't. Instead, you're having a conversation with someone and you're putting together a package that is based on their needs, and the price point can fit into, where they are right there in their budget. So like I said, website design. We have a couple different packages that we that we've already put together, but they're flexible based on, someone might not need their social media created. They're not at that place in their business where they're even really using social media. So let's not charge them for that. It allows you to be flexible, and it also allows you to be a little bit flexible in the time that you're spending with your clients. So, I might estimate that it's going to take us 8 calls to complete a particular project with you. But so when I put together the pricing for that package, I'm putting together what the end result is going to be at the end of those 8 calls. If for some reason you get stuck around midway through and we need to do an extra couple calls, that's fine. And what it does is it relieves that hesitation that people have, that if you're charging per hour, they're not sure how long it's going to take. They may be worried that it's going to take an extra couple calls and they're not going to be able to afford to pay you for that time. They're worried about, the price changing after they've already started working with you. And you can remove that hesitation by making packages that have very specific deliverables. You're getting paid enough that you feel good about that. And if it takes a couple extra calls, you're okay with that, without sacrificing, your own time or your own, trying to think of what the word is. Well, like inconveniencing yourself. If you are charging hourly, but you don't want to charge someone for those extra couple calls because it's going to be a stress on them, or you're going to have to ask for more money, and that's really uncomfortable. You might then not be getting paid what you're worth, or you might do it and you're going to start resenting them because they're taking more of your time than you felt, it was really worth what you're getting paid. I hope that makes sense. It's kind of a roundabout way of explaining that, but I think you get it because most of you have probably been there. So with packages, it kind of eliminates a lot of that hesitation on the client's part and a lot of the stress on your part as well. And the last thing is that when you have packages, they're more tangible. When someone is buying a particular result and they know that you're going to get them there, no matter what it takes, it's easier to sell. Instead of buying a certain number of calls and they're not sure if it's going to take that number of calls or not, they're buying the result. If that result is what they need right now, it's going to be a no-brainer for them. the other thing is that different activities can carry a different value. So for example, in my own business, consulting with me um, might carry different prices. So if I am just doing a straight up laser session where I'm just going to jump on the phone with someone, we're going to, work out their problems, put together a plan, and then they take it, that might be one price. If part of that consulting is me reviewing their materials and rewriting pieces of their copy and sending it back to them, that's going to be a different price, because the value is different. If you're taking a plan and implementing it yourself, you're going to have a different result than if you're taking a plan and I'm implementing it with you. Website development, that carries a different price. And website development is often, done on an hourly rate if we're doing website updates or we're, making changes to someone's site. If it's something big, we usually do a package because, there's always the curveballs that get thrown to you in website development, and you don't want to start jacking up someone's price, so we do a package. But if it's something simple, then we have an hourly rate. And those different types of activities you're going to be doing will have different prices. And it may sound like I have an hourly rate or you're going to have an hourly rate, and you kind of do. But it's not something that's published. It's more for your reference. So I know that if I'm going to be doing these particular activities, I can kind of guess at how long it's going to take me to do that. And then I put together a package price based on an internal hourly rate that I've decided on. And what it does is when you've removed the hourly rate from the conversation, then you're removing everything I just talked about as far as, hesitations and, whether it's going to take an extra hour or whatnot. So it's more like for your own reference when you're putting together a package, you have hourly rates assigned to those things that are going to be worth it. And if things go over a little bit, it's not a big deal. And then as far as the client's concerned, all they're seeing is the entire package and the big result that they're going to get when they're done. So again, this is where your flexibility comes in, where you can really make sure that you're getting paid what the value is worth, and getting paid, it is, you are getting paid what your time is worth as well, even though I told you to remove some of that from your internal conversation earlier on the call. So how do you price a package? So this is a very simple 5-step system, basically 5 questions to ask yourself. How much of your active time will delivery take? So this is like active time on the phone. So active time is when you're actually interacting with a client. Number 2, how much passive time will delivery take? So for me, I do a lot of passive delivery. So, if I'm coaching you through writing your copy, then there will be active time on the phone with the client, and then there will be passive time where I'm on my computer without the client, working on their copy or rewriting pieces or doing reviews, that kind of thing before our next call. So take that into consideration, because that's still, that's still value that you're providing. I'll just take a quick sip of water. Number 3, what is the end result for the client, and what is that worth? So what is doing this work with you going to get them? It may be really tangible. This is usually easier if you're a business coach or doing something that's going to make someone money, because you can literally say, if they do this with me, they're going to be able to double their income in the next year. Sometimes it's a little less tangible if you're a health coach, a life coach, a weight loss coach, a spiritual guide. It might be harder to say whether or not it's going to, it's not like a dollar value you can put on, they're going to make this much money and that's going to pay back the investment. But look at, what is it worth to them from an emotional standpoint? What is it worth to them from a confidence standpoint? What might they be able to do if they were able to achieve those things? It's not always, people are not always looking for a money payout. They might be looking for something more emotional, a relationship, something that's a little bit more internal and a little more soft. So take that into account. Number 4, what are other chargings for similar programs? And I told you before about the comparison conundrum. We're not looking at the pricing of their programs so that you can price yourself under them or whatnot, but it's good to have a benchmark basically of what's going on in the industry so that you can put yourself on that scale. And when you're looking at it, you want to look at how does the value of yours measure up. And a classic example, I was working with a client who was an investment coach, and he was just charging rock bottom prices because he wanted it to be an easy sell. And I asked him, how much are other people in your industry selling this for? And he quoted me, let's say it was $2,500. He was charging like $500. So let's say someone else was doing $2,500. And I asked him, what are they doing that you're not? And he said, well, it's a group instead of a one-on. They're doing a group and I'm doing a one-on-one. They're doing this and I'm doing that. They're doing this and I'm doing that. And what was funny is that every single thing he said had a higher value to it than the program that they were providing. So then I asked him, the value you're providing is so much higher than this program. Why are you undercharging yourself so much? And it came down to thinking that more people would be likely to buy if it was cheaper because he would think it would be a no-brainer. But if you were to look at those services and, very similar services, someone is charging $2,500 for a group, this other person is charging $500 for a one-on-one, where do you think the value is? Are you going to respect that person that is charging $500 for a one-on-one program that does the same thing as this other program? You're not going to see that as a fantastic value. You're going to think this person is cheap because they don't really know what they're doing. And you get what you pay for. So this is a factor that you need to think about. And this is where the branding side of things comes in. Even your pricing creates a perception of your business. So charging a really high number may up-level your brand. It may also price yourself out of the market. So it's always a tricky thing. But you can usually get fairly close to where you need to be by following this 5-step system. And step 5 is, would either of you puke if you told someone this price? That's called like the puke test. If you were to quote someone that price, would you want to throw up? And you should feel like a little anxiety, because that means that you're probably close to what you should be charging. Because like I said, we always tie value and pricing to our own value, which makes us feel a little bit uncomfortable. And then, is the other person going to throw up? Or is it just going to be like totally unreachable for them? And sometimes even that's a little bit okay. Sometimes it's you want them to stretch themselves a little bit to invest with you, because it increases the value of what you guys are doing. They're going to take it more seriously. They're going to make a commitment to themselves that they're going to get this result, and it's empowering for them to be able to do that. So this is a pretty good guide to help you get the starting point of your prices. And this will help you, start looking at your pricing in a different way and be able to start charging more for your services, because chances are you probably should be. So I already mentioned this a little bit, but pricing and your brand perception. So if you're too cheap, you're going to look like a loser. People aren't going to take you seriously. If you're too expensive, then you could look crazy, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they're charging that. Or you might look awesome. You see people charging these outrageous rates for services that you see other people charging very cheaply for, and you're going to think, man, they must really know what they're doing if people are paying those prices. So it's always a risk, but it can definitely pay off. And if you are going to charge higher prices, you just have to make sure that your positioning and your branding is up to snuff with the image that you're creating by charging that price. What's most important, that you both feel good about the value of the arrangement. When you take on a client, you want to be excited about working with them and not worried about, that you're not really getting paid how much you think you should be for that service. And they should feel really good that they're paying paying for this package, and they're going to be so happy with the result that it's just going to be beyond worth it. I love it when I work with a client, and after our first call, they say, this just paid for the value of this program. No matter what the price was, they always say that, because they are making an investment in themselves and they're taking action, and that just feels good. And to be honest, the hesitation in purchasing your services usually doesn't have to do with the price, which is actually the next thing we're going to talk about. Pricing is very rarely the barrier to someone hiring you. The barrier is usually the perceived value. So it's not sticker shock all the time. Most of the time, it's that the need isn't urgent enough right now. So it's not that you're overpriced, but it's that the need isn't urgent enough for them to invest right now. And when they're ready, they'll be back. Or they still have questions that are nagging at them. So they're still unsure about something. They're still skeptical that this is going to work for them for whatever reason. Or something just doesn't feel right. So maybe you guys just don't really jive together. You don't really have the same viewpoint, or their personalities don't really mesh. And that's totally fine. You are not meant to serve everyone. And a lot of times you feel this too. Every now and then I have a prospect that I'm talking to, and I know that I don't really want to work with them. That's a perfect opportunity to refer them to someone else, just because I know that I'm not going to be the best fit for what they need. Sometimes they're just not quite ready to take the steps that I'm going to need them to take. And that's okay. So this is why follow-up is so important. So when you're having a conversation and someone is a little hesitant, ask them what questions they have. What is it that's causing that hesitation? And oftentimes there's a question you can answer. Or if the need isn't urgent enough right now, then following up with them reminds them that you are available and you're there to help them when they are ready. And follow-up can be as simple as just shooting them an email, just say, hey, I'm checking in to see how you're doing. I've actually, I'm implementing into my system to remind me to follow up with people every 2 months and literally just see what they're up to. Not necessarily because I want to sell them anything, but because I felt like that we made a really good connection and I want to see what they're up to. I want to see how things turned out. And hopefully, if they're at the point where they're ready to work together, they're reminded that, hey, I'm still here. So just to recap, hourly rates don't work well for service providers, especially coaches, because you're not getting paid for all the time it takes you to run your business. Limiting thoughts could be holding you back unnecessarily. So a lot of these limiting thoughts in many areas of your business keep you from playing a bigger game than you could be. When you understand the value of what you're providing and charge based on that, then you're creating a win-win for everyone. And last but not least, how you price your programs plays a big role in your brand perception. So price yourself too low, they're not going to take you seriously. Price yourself really high, and you just have to make sure that your brand really represents that they're getting what they paid for, and that you are going to provide them the value of that service, and remove any doubts about that. All right, so that is my presentation on packaging and pricing. So the LOBoratory is going to go on hiatus for, I'm not really sure how long yet. I'm going to be traveling for a couple weeks. It's summer. I'm going to be launching a new program in the next month. So I'm going to take a little break from LOBoratory and kind of reassess things. Because as you guys know, I've kind of been changing my schedule up over the last year with the baby and whatnot. And I'm finding that it's really difficult for me to write these first thing in the morning. And I'm just not as passionate about it as I was. There are other things that I want to be doing. And so what I'm thinking is I am going to change the format of the LOBoratory, because the bottom line is I do love the community and I love being able to answer your questions and I love serving you. I think I just want to do it in a different format, because the webinars are just getting a little too draining doing them every week. So I think, I'm going to play with a couple different formats. I might be sending out a survey to you guys to see what you guys want. So if you have any feedback on that, shoot me an email, because this community is ultimately for you. And I want to make sure that you're getting the most out of it. So if you have any feedback or questions or suggestions for the direction you'd like the LOBoratory to head, then shoot me an email at holly@thelandofbrand.com. Otherwise, stay tuned, because I'm sure there'll be more information coming in the next couple of months. Me and my business partner have also had ideas for, crazy directions we could take the LOBoratory, and it's a matter of, is that the time commitment we want to take, like something that would be live and in person and Really, really fun. So I want to hear from you. So shoot me an email, holly@thelandofbrand.com. In the meantime, I wish you the best of luck, and stay connected in my newsletter. And at the very least, the LOBoratory will probably be doing, maybe like one webinar a month that is super hyper focused on a subject that goes a little bit more in depth. So really, really teaching these different concepts and really digging deep in higher quality content. Basically, what's really happening is in the amount of time I have to write these webinars, which is about 30 to 40 minutes, I'm not getting as deep as I really want to. And I feel like I'm just, giving you guys a lot more fluff than I should be. And I don't like that feeling. I liked it better when I had time to really devote to these webinars, and I want to do you justice. So stay tuned. I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your week. Definitely tune into the webinar at 2 o'clock today if you can make it. If you can't, sign up, and I'm not sure if there will be a replay, but just in case, sign up anyway. And I will see you all very, very soon. Have a fantastic day. Bye, everyone.